Before you are the railways that defy the laws of physics and the human instinct for self-preservation. Here, the tracks go underwater, climb vertical cliffs, and cross airport runways. In this video, we will show you 8 of the most dangerous railway lines on the planet, where every trip could be your last. Fasten your seatbelts. Our journey along the edge of reason begins. The Altai Lake Burlinskoye hides a mortal danger for any machinery due to its massive concentration of salt. But it is precisely along its muddy bottom that a unique railway branch is laid, with tracks completely hidden under the corrosive pink water. A heavy Soviet locomotive descends from the shore directly into this corrosive liquid every day to pull cars loaded with salt. Imagine that you are sitting in the driver's cab, and only an endless pink surface stretches before the windshield with no tracks in sight. The corrosive brine instantly begins to eat away at the metal, and salty dust settles on the machinery, knocking out the electronics. The slightest mistake in steering, and the multi-ton train will derail from the flooded tracks, getting stuck in the middle of a toxic desert. You cannot simply get out and inspect the undercarriage, because the salty solution deeply corrodes the skin in a matter of minutes. The shift lasts 12 hours under the scorching steppe sun and amidst the suffocating smell of hydrogen sulfide. The locomotives return to the shore white with salt, resembling giant ghosts from another world. This harsh road feeds an entire region, but it requires colossal courage from people every single day. In the very heart of the endless Sahara Desert runs one of the longest and heaviest trains on our planet. The length of this giant exceeds 2.5 kilometers, and it transports dangerous fine iron ore. There are practically no passenger cars here, but hundreds of locals are forced to ride directly on top of the open cargo containers. Imagine sitting on a pile of slippery metal ore under the blazing sun in 50-degree heat. During the journey, the wind kicks up clouds of sharp ore dust that gets into your eyes, ears, and lungs. At night, the desert cools down to 0 degrees, turning the iron car into a real icy trap. You're forced to wrap yourself in dirty blankets and hold on with all your might to the cold sides so you do not slip off. If someone falls off during a sharp jolt of the train on a bend, the train will continue moving at full speed. For the sake of saving one person in the uninhabited desert, no one will stop the huge cargo locomotive. 700 kilometers of hell make this trip the cheapest and most deadly way to cross the Sahara. On the sheer wall of the Swiss mountain, Pilatus operates a railway that will make even experienced climbers shudder. This is the steepest cogwheel railway in the world, and its slope in some places reaches an incredible 48 degrees. A regular train would slide down such a slope in a couple of seconds due to the simple lack of wheel traction on the rails. To solve this problem, Swiss engineers developed a unique side cogwheel gear system that firmly locks the wheels. Imagine that you're lying on the back of your seat in a car that slowly crawls along a vertical rocky cliff. On one side of you is a solid stone wall, and on the other is an abyss hundreds of meters deep. The train climbs at a pedestrian speed, filling the surrounding area with continuous metallic grinding and the howl of gears. A sticky fear builds up inside you, as ordinary brakes are useless here and will not hold the car in the event of an accident. The fate of all passengers at this moment depends solely on the strength of the steel cogs developed in the 19th century. This triumph of engineering works without major disasters, reminding us of the great courage of its creators. In the Ecuadorian Andes, at an altitude of 2,000 meters, lies the most difficult stretch of track, known as the Devil's Nose. To overcome the practically vertical wall of the cliff, the builders had to carve a complex system of zigzags into the granite. The train moves forward to a dead end, stops, switches the track, and begins to descend in reverse to the next level. Imagine that you're standing on the open footboard of a car that is slowly backing up directly to the edge of a bottomless gorge. Previously, tourists were allowed to ride directly on the roofs of these trains, which regularly led to tragic falls, tree branches, landslides, and sharp turns annually threw careless people onto the sharp rocks below. During the construction of this road, thousands of hired workers died from malaria, hard labor, and collapses. Every sleeper on this cliff is literally drenched in the blood of people who came here hoping for a better life. Modern trains run much slower here, but the grinding of metal against the rocks still frightens passengers. This road has become a monument to human madness and persistence, which overcame the unyielding fury of the wild Andes. The third highest railway in the world raises trains to a dizzying altitude of 4,200 meters. On this route, the train passes through 21 tunnels and crosses 31 shaky steel viaducts. The most famous viaduct, La Polverilla, hangs over a deep canyon at a height of 64 meters without any railings. Imagine that the ground suddenly disappears beneath the wheels of your car, and you are literally floating in the thin mountain air. Due to the extreme altitude, many passengers experience severe altitude sickness, accompanied by choking and nausea. Mountain rescue teams always accompany this trip, keeping oxygen tanks ready for gasping people. Landslides and frequent earthquakes in the Andes can block the train in a narrow stone bag at any moment. Sharp gusts of wind rock the light cars on the bridges, making the metal emit a long, mournful groan. The construction of this highly complex route took almost 30 years, built by workers who suffered from severe cold. Every trip here turns into a harsh test for the lungs and a test of the nervous system's endurance. In Thailand, there is a railway line that runs directly through the busy Maeklong food market. Vendors lay out their vegetables, fish, and greens right next to the rails, and awnings completely cover the tracks. The train runs here several times a day, and before its arrival, the market instantly transforms. Imagine that you are standing in the middle of a crowd, and suddenly a loud warning horn of an approaching locomotive sounds. Merchants fold up their umbrellas and push back their stalls by mere centimeters from the wheels with amazing speed. The train moves at a speed of about 15 kilometers per hour, literally driving over the food laid out on the ground. The distance between the side of the heavy train and the baskets of food is often less than 5 centimeters. Any tourist who gets distracted with a camera on the tracks risks instantly ending up under the wheels of the multi-ton machine. As soon as the last car passes by, the awnings unfold back, and trade continues as if nothing had happened. This crazy sight shows how cheap a human life can be in the conditions of the daily struggle for survival. In New Zealand, there is a unique transport hub where railway tracks cross an active runway of the airport. Trains and passenger planes are forced to share the same territory, obeying strict signals from air traffic controllers. The train must come to a complete stop and wait for permission while a heavy airliner lands on the runway. Imagine that your passenger car freezes on the rails, and right in front of you, a Boeing lands at huge speed. The sound of roaring jet engines shakes the train windows, and the airflow rocks the cars like toys. The slightest failure in the coordination system, or a controller's mistake, will lead to an instant collision between the train and the plane. At such high speed, a collision would leave no chance of survival for either the train passengers or the airliner's crew. This branch is an important transport artery of the region, so closing it or moving the tracks is technically impossible. Controllers work under conditions of colossal nervous tension, knowing the price of a split-second hesitation at the intersection of the paths. Every crossing of this runway by a train turns into a deadly roulette at the junction of two different elements. The Outaniqua-Chucho railway line passes over the Kaaimans River Bridge right above the raging waves of the Indian Ocean. This arched bridge, built on sheer cliffs, is constantly subjected to violent blows from storm waves and salty wind. Ocean spray slowly but surely destroys the ancient stone masonry of the supports and causes deep corrosion of the rails. Imagine your old steam locomotive slowly entering a narrow bridge, squeezed between the swirling abyss and a black cliff. Heavy waves break against the supports right beneath you, sending clouds of salty foam onto the train windows. A fierce surf rages below, and its depth and sharp underwater rocks rule out any chance of escape if you fall. Drivers guide the train at a minimum speed, listening carefully to the alarming hum and vibration of the bridge spans. Regular landslides on the adjacent steep slopes often block the tracks, threatening to plunge the train directly into the raging ocean. This line is considered one of the most scenic, but behind its beauty hides a constant, deadly threat. Nature here daily proves its superiority over man, forcing us to pray for a safe crossing every single time. Each of these 8 railways is a monument to human persistence and the willingness to risk life for the sake of moving forward. Write in the comments which route you would absolutely never buy a ticket for. Subscribe to the channel so you do not miss new exciting stories about extreme engineering. See you in the next episode.